All right, let's see. Where are we? Let's start with Ryan.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and be optimistic here, and you can shoot me down. Um, so I was I
Always
was
fun
thinking
to do.
about I was thinking about the topic of the rise of an authoritarian in the U.S. and there seems to be this need for like an existential threat to really launch an authoritarian into power. And the most recent example of a legitimate threat would have been COVID. But since then, like it's pretty weak sauce. Some of the things that politicians come up with, like immigrants, China, um, the threat of
What
vaccine,
was the threat in 1933 in Berlin, in Germany?
communism.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
it, was it was the left, capital L. That was
Okay,
the threat.
so
That was it.
so so my
It
my
wasn't
question
real.
is,
Communists were not going to win the election. They didn't win the election, but it was the left.
so we've been getting dramatically more safe and more wealthy, and technology and um, science has brought us to a point where we don't really have serious existential threats other than death by age. And even COVID, if you look at that as a serious threat, it was solved in a matter of months by Moderna. And so my optimistic view of the future is actually that, there could be a tipping point where authoritarianism can't be sold anymore because we simply are so wealthy and so rich that it becomes a joke. Now I know that sounds pie in the sky, but I'm wondering if anybody has written on this or has looked into it from a historical perspective.
I don't think so because there's no precedent to being this wealthy, right? So the wealth shields you from it. Um, look, I think that's not crazy. That's not completely crazy. Um, but remember the 1930s in Germany. By the time Hitler comes to power, the hyperinflation, the economic crisis is already over. They've solved that. Now it's true. A communist revolution happens in Russia in 1917, but that's already 16 years later, and Russia hasn't expanded really into Europe, so it's not clear that they're a threat. And indeed, the first treaty Germany signs is, during World War II, is with Russia. They're the ally. Um, but leftism is viewed as an evil, but standard of living's getting better in Germany. The economy is getting better. Things are getting better. Why do they turn to this? So, I mean,
But
if you
but
look
my
at
argument against that is this is Europe, right? You have this tribal conglomeration of countries that are
absolutely,
constantly at war with each other. I'm talking about the United States.
yeah. So,
Where is the threat going to come from?
but the United States is becoming Europe, right? It's becoming tribal internally. The left and the right are gaining these tribal identities that are clearly opposed to one another and view each other as existential threats. I mean, think about what Trump said. He said when he ran for president, he said, if Kamala wins, this country is over. It's finished. There is no country. Now, I'm not saying that's true. Of course, that's not true. But people
But
bought
a
it.
majority of people can't believe that. I
Not
mean,
yet. Not yet. But
yeah,
just
so my argument is that we will only get smarter. Like there isn't this downward spiral of
but
stupidity that's just going to sweep the nation.
But I did the story yesterday about how we've gotten dumber since 2010. And we have gotten dumber since 2010. We've elected Trump twice. Clearly, that's an indication that we've gotten dumber since 2010. So I'm not convinced that we're not getting dumber. I mean, if you look at the quality of debate today, if you look at the quality of arguments today on both left and right, it certainly looks like people are more stupid than they ever have been, at least in the United States of America. You look, I'm not going to say you're wrong because I don't know, but I think what you're saying is credible. We could, but my point is, I guess the bigger point is this: ideas shape history, not wealth. Ideas shape history. Ideas are not getting better. Ideas are getting worse. You see that in our academia. Woke is worse than communism, and you see that on the right. The Christian nationalism was never a thing in America. Never, never, never was a thing. And all of those are things now. And so ideas are getting worse. And ideas shape what people do, not wealth, not comfort, not some deep understanding of no, Trump's lying. They don't have that. And you can see it in how people. So I don't think we're ready for it yet. I agree with you that it's not happening now. People would rebel if Trump tried to be an authoritarian. And I think it's unlikely to happen in the next decade. But if trends continue in terms of the ideas that we have, then yeah, it's possible.
So I still think that the productive geniuses of today are vastly superior to the productive geniuses of 100 years ago in Europe, um, because of the resources they have at their disposal. And yes, I agree with you about ideas, and that's going to shape the culture.
But look
Uh,
how the ideas shape the productive geniuses. Look what a mess these productive geniuses are making right now, right? And this is just the beginning, right? Just give the Peter Thiels and the Elon Musks and the American Jason more power, and they're gonna, yeah, they're the productive geniuses, and they think they're smarter than me and you, and they want to shape our lives. They want to tell us how to live. They are the authoritarians of the future. Silicon Valley's always wanted this. I've been saying this for 20 years. People in Silicon Valley, the successful ones, think they're smarter than everybody in the world. And they want to run things. And they think that if they're central planners, it'll be a lot better than the other people being central planners. They'll get it right this time because they have AI and supercomputers on their side. And they'll do it right this time. And you might think that's exaggerated, but that's their mentality. The mentality of Silicon Valley is we can run your life better than you can. And ChatGPT can certainly run your life better than you can.
but most of them can't even run their own lives and have a happy existence. Isn't that true?
That is true, but happiness is not the standard. I mean, I'm reading this book. I'm reading this book that is scaring the bejesus out of me right now, right? It's a book written by the founder and CEO of Palantir. Palantir is this breakthrough tech company that is in the defense business, and he's become incredibly successful, and they are the largest tech defense contractor, right? They're this, and the whole book is the problem with Silicon Valley is it caters too much to individuals and is determined too much by markets. It's too driven by, he doesn't say it like this, but this is the essence, too driven by self-interest. They're focused on better shopping apps and better this and better that, instead of joining the collective purpose of making America great, and not in the Trump sense, in their sense, making America great, and joining government, joining forces with government. Silicon Valley should join forces with government to make America great. And we need to have a goal greater than ourselves, right? Greater than just wealth, greater than just the latest and greatest social media platform. We need something more exciting than that. And right now, that's defense. Everybody should be doing tech for defense because that's what America needs from you. This is one of the leaders, both intellectually and financially, of Silicon Valley. And this is the trend now in Silicon Valley, is to become more, quote, right wing, which is more collectivistic, nationalistic. Anyway, I hope you're right. But everything I see scares the bejesus out of me. I'm reading this book because I wanna get insight into what they're thinking. And he lays it out, and he's being serious. He just doesn't see, because he keeps saying, what we should striving towards is the common good. We need a purpose, that's, and the government is there to give us a purpose greater than the individual selves. And he's saying this completely seriously with no, and he is one of the most successful technologists in the world today. And
So
writing
my
to
hope is
monitor
that
your behavior. What's
You know,
that?
my hope is that we'll get to a point where people will see that as a pathetic point of view and really sad that someone would
Yeah,
take
but
that.
that's
Right?
that's that's the point where our ideas win out. And that's what's really, really, really hard so far, at least, has been, right?
It's early.
It's early. If our ideas win out, there will be no authoritarians. I'll grant you that.
I'm just repeating your own words from like 3-4 years ago. So
I know. I keep alternating between being a little bit more optimistic and much more pessimistic.
okay, thanks.